Hi, I'm Janet. Welcome to From the Stage. We're here in beautiful Wagner Park, and I'm fortunate to be here with Drury.
Hi, John. It's nice to be here. I appreciate the chance to come and talk a little more.
You've been a songwriter for a long time. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I wrote my first song in 1971, around then. And oddly enough, it's a corporate song, but it's played in Europe. So there's still friends over there that play it. It's not a memorable song other than it's easy to play, and the title is a little English is better than woman. And all of my friends play it. It's very, very simple country, 3 chords. I probably only knew 4 chords back then. But and I wrote some earlier songs, but now that I've gotten into songwriting, most of them don't make the cut anymore, because you realize that wow, there's a lot missing.
So how did you progress in writing songs?
Well, the best thing that happened is to find Skyland Songwriters Guild in 2014, right at the beginning of 14, because there was this whole community of songwriters in my backyard in northwest New Jersey, in Morris County, and there you had not only fellow songwriters, but you had opportunities to perform original music, which is why I love Café Artiste so much. Because it's different. If you're a songwriter, you can really only talk songwriting with other songwriters. You can't do it with your musician friends if they're not songwriters. And so it's having that outlet, and where you're going to be vulnerable, and there's going to be a lot of missteps. A buddy of mine recently, I showed him a new song I was working on. He's my best friend, and he was out here from the West Coast, and I said, "Hey, he said, what are you working on?" I handed it to him. He said, "These first 2 lines kind of suck." I said, "Well, that's the manure that the flowers grow from. They're just placeholders right now."
Brutally honest.
Well, he's right. He's right. They just had the right number of syllables in it, and it conveyed what I was thinking of. It's just not the way it's going to end up being. So, but anyway, finding that group of songwriters, and now I go to songwriting retreats. And it's evolved into me co-hosting a songwriting circle, and I really have gotten into studying songwriting and sharing it with other people.
How do you find when people go to songwriting circles, are they serious about songwriting? What do you find the percentage, or what their goal is? Are they want careers?
I think everybody has that in the back of their mind, no matter what stage, and that's kind of an important thing. Artists can't be too realistic, otherwise there goes all of the dreaming. You can't look at all the things and say, well, the odds are against me, so I shouldn't start. So you have to have the dream and be hopeful. But I'd say most people that go to song circles are scared to death, because they're going to play something, and songs are like our children, and they're precious to us, and so we are oftentimes a little bit reluctant to hear the brutal honesty. But the good song circles are honest with compassion. That's the rule.
And you've done a few of these. I know you're doing Skyland now.
Yes, and this weekend I was up in Rockland County with the Folk Project, which is out of Morristown, New Jersey, and it wasn't specifically songwriting. It was folk music, performing, and everything. But I try to do as many as possible. I try to do open mics, especially where people don't know me, because we tell our younger songwriters to play away games. If you go where everybody knows you, everybody's going to clap. They're going to say it's great. Oh, we love it. Your friends are there. But go someplace where there isn't any preconceived notion, where you kind of have to. You're going to get a real reaction.
So you started a long time ago, and now you're doing your own songwriting. What about your music? Your own CDs, your songs?
Just the one EP so far, but I'm just putting together now the set list for a full CD, which will have other instruments, more instrumentation and vocals. So I miss playing with other people. There's this balance where when you're a solo, you've got all the freedom in the world. You can change tempo, you can make up lyrics if you forget, and you don't have to schedule rehearsal time with folks. But the downside is you don't hear those other voices and that other instrumentation that brings a new life to the song. So I'm working on that though.
You also do a podcast with George Lewin.
Yes. Well, George is a audio and video engineer by trade. That's what he does. He also teaches up at County College of Morris. I think it's recording, music and recording arts, I believe. And we have very similar likes and dislikes. And I asked him if he just wanted to do a podcast for fun, and no goal to monetize it, just to get people that we know that are, everybody needs more promotion, self-promotion, and it's turned out great. We have no one has said no. Everybody that we've asked has said yes, including people that we don't know that well that are kind of big names.
Really?
Yes, and it's, well, I'll wait until they come on, but right. But I mean, even Ellis Paul has said he'd be on, and he's gotten to be a friend of mine since I've gone to his songwriting retreats the last 2 years. I'm going again this year, and I did about a year of Skype lessons with him. And he's a very giving guy. I mean, he's known all over the world, and but it just is. It's because it's I guess the motivation is pure. It resonates with people well.
They definitely people want to give.
And everybody's looking for something different to put on their website or their social media that says, that's not just a a meme or a song. They need something else that tells their story a little bit. And it really is, some of the stories have been fascinating, and some people surprise you. Some people that are shy really open up, and some people that are really talkative kind of, get very nervous in front of the microphone, I guess.
And we found that without interviewing.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, but that's why it's good that George and I do it together, because he's trained, he's got a degree in music, so he can talk about theory and the technical side of it, as well as the aesthetic side. And I'm more just a conversationalist. But it's a lot of fun, and I want to say we're going to do more than what we've been doing, but George moved actually closer down to Ocean Grove.
Oh, he did?
He's down central Jersey somewhere. I don't know what town. Yeah, well, that's it. He won't give me his address. I think there's something personal there that's going on.
I know that you talked about busking around Europe.
Yes.
What was that like? When did you do that?
1976, after I graduated college. I had no intention of playing music over there. I just brought my guitar. I'd been playing for 4 years. And I brought it so that I could have something to do in the evenings or whatever. Well, I went over with $1,200, and I somehow had it in my mind that I could make it last a year. Now, even in 1976 dollars, $100 a month isn't going to go far. And after the first 6 weeks, I had blown through $500 because I couldn't find a place to live and just have all these expenses. And I ran into a guy from Colorado at a party. He had a guitar. He'd been there for 5 months already. So he had the place scoped out, and he had a gig at this college club. And so we played that night, and he said, "Hey, why don't you come? I'm playing tomorrow night. You can play during my breaks, and I'll introduce you to the owner." That's what happened, and I ended up with 2 nights myself, and trust me, I stunk. I was really not good. But like they say, necessity is the mother of invention. If I wanted to stay, I had to figure out a way to make money, and I definitely liked being up in front of everybody and having them all look at me. I like that a lot. And
Did you play real music or play cover?
almost all cover. I didn't have a lot of songs, but I played my own songs too. But the great thing was that they were France, mainly all of Europe, loved American and English music. And this is way before the internet, kids. They were about 4 years behind us. So when I was there in '76, if you could play House of the Rising Sun, you literally your tip jar would be overflowing. Sometimes you played it 2 or 3 times a night because people it was just hitting the radio stations there. And so now all of a sudden, now the guitar is not just a hobby, now it's part of my life. And I learned how to busk, and you could busk right here. You can just open your guitar case and play. And it's really not about making so much money, it's just about, that's how you practice. Mm-hmm. And you learn how to really project because you're playing over street noise and everything else. Wow. And it ended up, we spent about 6 weeks in Paris and then 5 weeks in the Riviera. Now, we weren't in the Riviera accommodations. We were sleeping out. But the weather's so nice down there, it was just the same.
And you could get away with that.
And you could get away with it. And it was an experience that was amazing. And my mom gave me a journal before I left, and I filled it out religiously. And so one of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to write a book.
I was just going to say, when is the book coming out?
Yeah, the book is I'm reading through it, and I've got to see. I realized that only some days was I an interesting writer. But
that's when you make it work.
Yes, then you
Those are the notes.
You fill in the blanks. Plus, it's '76, so I could make stuff up, and who's going to challenge me?
Well, I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, it's awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, all the songwriters and people that play Café Artiste appreciate what you do. Really, really, it's just awesome, and that's why we support you. The new songwriters, and I have to say that I am not as well versed on a variety of new songwriters, but I think that the thing if you stick to the story, if you're faithful to the story, then that's consistent no matter what era you're in songwriting. And I think that the other thing that can kind of be a little intoxicating is all of the technology and effects that are available to anybody in their living room, and they should be minimized, because when I was a rock guy before I started playing, but then in the '70s, all of a sudden the singer-songwriter with Jackson Browne and Carole King and James Taylor, that became really a big thing, and I was.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I heard it, actually.
If you want to know which camera I'm standing in front of the camera I'm going to use.
That's okay. You're not supposed to look right at the camera anyway, so.
I had to do it.
All right. We should be good.
Okay. Well, yeah, I was always a rock guy, and before I started playing, the singer-songwriter really rose to prominence in the '70s, and what struck me was not just that you could hear the lyrics, but they were the feature. James Taylor's an awesome instrumentalist. Joni Mitchell's got her open tunings, but a lot of the folk music or the singer-songwriter was very simple, yet it was compelling because of the story. And I'm a words person. I'm a lyrics guy. I like words, and that struck me that you could really entertain people without a wall of Marshall amps.
Yeah, it's nice because when you do play Café Artiste, everybody's listening.
Yes.
it's rewarding to see everyone get the story
Yes.
and not listen
You're
for.
advertising, yeah.
Oh yeah, he doesn't want me to do
Like advertising.
that. Well, when you're at a listening room,
That's good.
when you're at a listening room, it's nice when everyone gets to hear the whole story
Yes.
because each verse and the chorus, it all connects.
Yes.
And sometimes in a bar, you know, you miss the middle. It just doesn't come to
Now I've been playing out a lot more this year by design, and I go to places that are listening rooms. I will. Doesn't matter to me if it's paying or not paying. I mean, I'm lucky. I have, I have a career that pays the bills, and that's why I support people. If you put out a CD, I will buy it. If you're an artist, I will buy a piece of your work as long as it's not 20 by 20.
Yeah, you definitely do that.
Yes, and it's important because we know what goes into it. We know the hours that you agonize over things. I was just listening to a friend of mine who is going to be on the podcast. You would love this guy. He's out of Colorado, but he goes to the Ellis Paul retreat. And he has this amazing song, and he was talking how he agonized over the last verse, how he couldn't get it. And when you hear the final song, it's so transcendent that you say, that just must have flowed. But that's why we have the podcast, so that people that are new know that they're not the only ones going through it, that other people have. Hang in there, and it's work. It's work. And it's worth the work.
How many songs do you think go unfinished?
Most.
No.
There's many more unfinished songs than there are finished, and regardless of how, like in our circle, we had a what was it, a snap a snippet or something like that. But everybody's got snippets of paper or clips on their phone, and we said bring in 3, and then we'll and pick one and finish the song. And we really only did a handful that night. Now that I think of it, we need to go back to it and revisit it. But that, I guess the only important thing though is to go back to those unfinished pieces and lyrics and melodies, because it might not just have been ready, it wasn't the time then. It is intimidating, and first off, go to open mics. Open mics are your friend. You want to be playing out as much as possible, and not bars. Restaurants are fine. Restaurants can still be noisy, but there's this website, openmic.com, regardless of what city.
I didn't know that. That's great.
When I travel, I always hit that because I want to play wherever I go. And the other thing about find other songwriters. Even if it's just a post on Facebook that says, "Hey, are there any other songwriters in this town?" You might have to start your own group, but that's the best way to do it. So if there isn't one near you, start one.
Good advice.
Yes.
Very good advice. Anything else you would like to tell songwriters? I want to tell audiences to pay attention. That's what I want to say. So they get to really appreciate new artists.
Well, I just want there's music all around you. Support live music. You don't have to travel. You don't have to spend $100 a ticket. Right. Find the local music. If there's colleges near you, they definitely have shows, and high schools now have production and studios that are on the par of professionals. Just find them, support them, and you'll be stunned how good they are.
Thank you, Bernie, for joining us on From the Stage.
Thanks for having me. It was gas.